Welcome to Leadership and Reinvention, the podcast for leaders on a journey filled with twists, turns, and new possibilities. I'm Marissa Prazen, and along with my co-host Mike Cloutier, in each episode we explore the moments that spark transformation, challenge perspectives, and redefine success. Whether you're making a career shift or looking to lead with impact, this is your space to rethink, pivot, and grow. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, Leadership and Reinvention. We are so excited to have you here. And a big hello to my co-host, Mike Cloutier. How are you, Mike?
Hey, Marissa. I'm great. Life is good here in Florida right now. So thrilled that I'm able to get some time back with my colleagues north of the border.
Nice. Well, lucky you, enjoying the sunshine. Well, a big warm welcome to our guest today, Mireille Vega. She is the CEO of Vegan Biome. And I'm super excited, and I know Mike is too, to have Mireille, Dr. Mimi, join us because she has an outstanding and incredible story. I was introduced to Mimi, Dr. Mimi, by a friend who told me about this fascinating woman who had started this cosmetics company, basically science-backed skincare. And it started from a place of passion. And I was so intrigued by the story because not only did she venture out to start her own company, but she did it in a space that is quite, I would say, intimidating for most of us, which is thinking about a manufacturing organization and making products and the complexities that come with that. So we are super excited to have you here. A huge welcome. Hello.
Hello, thank you. It's very humbling, actually, to be here, as is this endeavor to get into this space. Actually, very, very excited to have this talk with you guys.
Oh, amazing. Well, nothing like kicking it off. So we would love to hear your story in your words. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got started, what enticed you to go on this journey, and where you are today? And then we'll, of course, looking forward to diving into lots of questions that we hope our listeners are also eager to hear.
Great. Yeah. Well, actually, a little bit is a life story. This story is really a life story. It starts in my childhood where I was super curious to understand how the body works. I love nature. I had the opportunity to spend lots of time outdoors in the countryside. So I discovered everything. And when my teenage years came along, I was training a lot, but had also acne, and I wanted to understand why and how to get rid of it mostly. And I think I became a chemist because of that. I was part of the chemistry club. I would spend my afternoons on weekend, at the drugstore trying to figure it out, going to dermatologists as well. So I ended up having my skin red most of my teenage years, either from breakouts or because it was super irritated with the products that were available, which are the same today. And so I was on a mission to develop something that made sense for the skin. And I guess when you're younger, you think, like when you don't know too much, you think you can do it, right? So I set up to do a PhD in biotechnology, working with enzymes and trying to figure it out. And when I got out, I was okay, like there's something missing, and who am I really to develop this? Like the more you know, the more you realize that you don't know so much, right? And so I set up to gain experience and to figure it out as I went along. And at the same time, my mother had been diagnosed with a leukemia. And again, I tried to understand what was going on, very ambitious, and ended up with probably about 20 years of experience in oncology, from bench to bedside drug design and clinical trials and everything in between. And because I had this passion for the skin, projects relating to the skin also landed on my desk. And it's also oncology and this space that brought me into pharma, and that also brought me into immunology because my son was diagnosed with a brain tumor, which he's all good now. But at the time, it was a shock and it was very difficult to cope. I needed distance and space from the oncology world. Very grateful for the company I was with at the time. They transferred me into immunology, where I got to work on the skin again. And at the time, we were connecting the gut microbiome with everything that makes sense in terms of systemic immunology. And being passionate about the skin, I question, okay, well, maybe the microorganisms, so the skin microbiota in your skin also influence your skin. And I digged and I realized, oh my God, this is exactly what was missing when I set up to do something that made sense for the skin, but I felt I couldn't do it. And as much as I felt I couldn't do it 20 years earlier, I felt I had to when I kind of connected all of these elements together. So this is how Vegan Biome was born.
Incredible. Remarkable journey. It's a big leap from the passion and the core of your scientific background working for companies, and then suddenly being the person who is, in essence, the company. Tell us about that leap. How did you go from the corporate to your own venture, and sort of what was happening through that process? Because I think that's where that whole reinvention part is, I'm sure, very exciting.
It is. And I think, it is a very, very good question. Probably a bit of innocence in there. And it came into steps. I really think that life happens for you and brings you elements to advance as you go. And when you start listening to these elements, well, it starts making sense. So there came a point where, my daughter basically was becoming a teenager, and she was going through my closet, and we're trying to figure out a routine. And I was like, oh, no, we're not going through this again. Like all the cycles of trial and errors and the skin needs change all the time. Like now we knew better, right? So I took a step back from pharma and start consulting. So that was the first step, because I knew I needed time to figure it out. And I also knew I needed money. So I consulted for a few years. Even when I launched the products at the beginning, I was still consulting. So that helped the transition, because you're still, one foot into what you're used to doing, and another, like bringing in the revenue and setting the people into place. So the first phase, I guess, of the big business was built on a model where I wasn't the center of the business, which I think helped in a way, because I could manage the same way I was managing before. The real switch, I think, came when I decided, okay, let's do this full time now, because I felt that the business was, being stopped. I was the bottleneck because I couldn't support it enough. So when I moved full time, then I realized I had to switch and rethink everything, because it's completely different dynamic. And I realized that my mindset was actually what was driving the business a lot more than when you're in corporate, where it's more organizational and culture-based. Of course, I'm developing a culture as well with Vegan Biome, but it is really driven by how I feel and my mindset, given that I'm, like the chief of everything officer, as they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, Mireille, tell us a little bit about, this whole scaling part of it. Like you said, you kind of went from, I'm the one starting it, I'm sure others were involved. Like, how did it then sort of evolve to, okay, now it feels right that we can scale, that we can make this bigger, I can make more, of an investment, I need to. Tell us a little bit about that journey, because that's certainly something that all entrepreneurs really struggle with, is when's the right time to kind of pull the trigger on this?
I think the right time is when you feel the market asking for it. And you take the opportunity for sure. But for me, I thought, because there were some times, where I doubted, where I said, who am I again? And, maybe I need more. I need people, I need investors, I need, but at the same time, I knew that what I was bringing was so different, a totally different approach. I really knew that it would benefit people. So I needed to keep it as is. And I even went on Dragon's Den. Many people don't know this, but
Amazing.
And they told me, oh, well, you only have these core products. You're going to have to do a lot of products. That's how it works. And I know this is how it works, but I still believe that these core foundational products that work for everybody, because it's a new approach to the skin, it focuses on the root symptoms or the root functions of the skin instead of looking at the symptoms and, really changing the course of your skin's health, right? Because it's so different, I do believe there's a space for it, but it needs to be protected. And if it's acquired too early, or if there's an investor coming in, that may actually dilute and make it disappear completely. And so this is what actually kept I'm not going to say arrogance, because I don't think it's arrogant at all, but maybe the word would be stubbornness. Yeah. Going. Yeah. I think, you need to be stubborn when you really believe in something.
I think it's so true. That sense of mission, you have to guard against someone who might overly influence in that and shift things away from what true to your core. When you were describing, the experience at the beginning, you touched upon culture, and I'm always, we've had a number of conversations in our podcast series here about culture, about the leader's role in influence, and then leadership in general. Can you talk a little bit about sort of your perspectives on that relationship?
Oh, yeah. Well, again, culture, mindset, I mix the two because we're such a small team that it's really, really interconnected. And it's not only my mindset, but it's the team's mindset. I set out recently, I put together a vivid vision. It's what they call, how you see the company 3 years from now, and the culture of it, and the team, and for me, it's almost like a family, because this, for me, it's my third act. It's like my legacy in a way. I want to, leave strong. I want to leave something that is sustainable for the people that will join me in this journey. I have to admit that I had to do shifts, that I had to externalize a lot of the components because of the size of the company. We want to grow. We need to hire specific competencies. that are not found in one person. So you need to hire many people, but if your revenue is not sustaining multiple salaries with those competencies, you have to go fractional. And the only way I found to do this is to go external. And now the next wave is actually to rebuild internally. And so this is why I rebuilt my Vivid Vision and making sure that the culture was one of growth. Ultimately, I really, really wish to focus on the educational aspect and finding solutions that make sense beyond the skin as well. And this is because I do believe fundamentally everything is connected. And this is actually my strength, where I see these connections very, very rapidly, and I want people to benefit from them. I did that for the skin, but there's so many other layers to that: the skin, the gut, connecting the brain, the heart, the lungs. I call it skin to soul. It's really I'm on a mission to help people from skin to soul, right? And this is what I want to do. And to do that, I need a team that wants to support that and that's engaged in that. And so this is why I wrote it down, and I'm actually sharing that Vivid Vision before I hire people. So it's been super well received so far. So I'm looking very much forward to see what the team would look like within a year.
And when you're so passionate, clearly, about your journey and the difference you want to make, what I'm curious about is, we have our vision, we know what we want to achieve, we're going after it, but clearly, life just isn't straightforward and simple, especially on the entrepreneurial journey. What are some of the surprises that came along that you were like, ooh, I wish I had anticipated these things? Are there one or two things that, telling all other entrepreneurs, you'd be like, watch out for these, because you don't assume they're coming, but they impact your business and how you're running it, and you're achieving your vision in a profound way?
So for me, that's a good question too. I think it comes back to Mike's question, in the sense, you come from corporate and then you go, on your own. And, because I came from corporate and then I was on my own, mind you, in corporate, I was really entrepreneurial. So that's why I think intrapreneurial worked really well for me. But still, it's a big, big gap. And so I felt I had this blind spot, right? So that I needed to get people's opinion and advice. So I surrounded myself with people that, of course, I trusted, but I listened to them way too much. And I say this with a lot of love, because they were all there to help, right? But at the end, my instinct knew more than anybody else. And I wasn't listening to my instinct. So if there's one thing I would say, is just trust it. It's not loud. It's just a whisper, but it is always there. And every time that I didn't listen, which is many times, oh my God. Yeah, I lost time, money, efforts, energy. Yeah, it wasn't aligned. But that's how you learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's almost an art to knowing what specifically to ask for assistance with, and then listen deeply to that, versus the concept of always be listening. I think, to your point, and I've experienced it as well, that there are things that are so core, and they're just you're going to kind of succeed or fail on the basis of those things, regardless, because it's just too critical to your own self in the business, or building the culture, or how you want to lead. There's just that core. And then there's a lot of things outside of that that can have great influence and be of great assistance. But coming to understand where to ask and then listen, as opposed to no, there's no point in asking about these things because I wouldn't listen if it were different. So I'm kind of sticking to what that middle core, and then I'm going to be open to a lot of things outside of that core. Reflecting now, would you say that there's something accurate to that?
Yes, I guess it comes back to stubbornness. because like from outside, people see things that sometimes you don't see, but at the same time, we kind of forget they don't see things that you see very clearly. So and those things that you see very clearly, you got to remind yourself that, like you're on it and stay the course. And I guess to go with this, another aspect, which was really difficult for me, and it's still something that I struggle with, is saying yes only, but only to the oh hell yes. I'm sorry if but there's a lot of shiny objects, and there's a lot of offers, there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of everything, and I'm passionate, I'm curious, I'm energetic, so like I'm very enthusiastic, let's try things, right? And but you get diluted. So really focus. It's better to do a lot less than try to do too much, which is something that I'm reminding myself right now.
That's spot on. I think this is something that so many entrepreneurs struggle with. And one of our guests, I remember her saying, whenever she was confronted with that, she would go back to her mission. And is this aligned with the mission? Yes, no. And that's how she would just stay the course in the right way. Because you're right. So many amazing opportunities just keep coming up that are easy to, chase after, but then could be, a dead end, or potentially could be something interesting. But if it's aligned with your mission, at least that sort of helps align things. Question I have for you is in this whole space of, really driving something that's new, that's entrepreneurial. And more than that, as you said, you mentioned with Dragon's Den, you were really embarking on a different approach to skincare. And we all know, when you think back to, nobody knew they needed an iPhone until they had an iPhone. And so much the same way here, you were offering, and I know you're offering rather, something that is quite different. Because as, myself, I think of the skincare I have, it's like, they're just way too many. And I remember you saying to me when we first met, if you could just cut this down to the things that you needed, that would be terrific. What I'm curious about is you were not only launching products, but you were launching a new mindset. Tell us a little bit about that journey, like really getting people to see things differently, and how you overcame that in order to really get the buy-in for what you have today.
That's, again, an excellent question. I don't think I succeeded yet, but I did change my approach. We tested many things. What we tested, by the way, were plans, in plans that were set by very good marketing agencies or groups, or, like to support. But again, like some of that can be applied to what I do. But to your point, I'm setting out a philosophy. And I focused way too much at the beginning on the products. And still currently, I work with groups. I don't have the choice. There's too many things to do. I can't do it all by myself. But it's a constant reminder, we're not skincare. We're not skincare. We're a wellness brand. We're a new philosophy. We're a new approach to skin, because they want to take the model that works for the others But that doesn't work for me, because when people see skincare, another skincare brand, like I don't have the big budgets to put, everything in marketing and then to get a margin that's, we can't, that's not where we can compete, because we have a different brand, right? So it's going to need education. And so this is why we decided to focus almost exclusively on the Dr. Mimi V brand. And it has a V now because we're branding it, and because it needs a V because there's another Dr. Mimi that does something else. And, so now we're being much more intentional with the Dr. Mimi V, because when people understand, you can't go back. Once you've understood that, your skin changes every day. Every day. So if you're trying to feed or give it the same thing every day, it's not going to fit. And the only way you can, to care for your skin optimally is to be able to adapt to those changes. And the only way to be able to adapt to those changes is actually to notice them in the first place. But we've never been told how to, or, listen to your skin. Like my 2-step routine is feel and then mix, because I have 2 products that you can adapt to what your skin needs. But for that, you need to feel it first. And how do you feel that? It's super simple and intuitive, but it's so foreign to most people that, they need to do that shift. But once the shift is done, and the reason why I still go on and believe in it, people have textually wrote to me, "You changed my life." It's just the skin, but it's so simple and a complete shift. And the way I did it is, I, for myself, wanted one thing. I just wanted one thing, like for peace of mind, but I wanted one thing that did everything, because I didn't want to have to rethink my routine every day. I didn't want to have to spend hours, caring for my skin. I just wanted to be intuitive, but to prevent any, aging signs that I could. It's a skin, it's going to age, but can we keep it optimal as long as possible? From a very longevity standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. So I put every ingredient that the skin can use and needs in the formulation, and in a way that you can adapt the proportion and it makes sense for the skin. So it's sustainable. You don't need to rethink your routine, and it literally takes less than a minute. You just feel your skin. Oh yeah. And then it becomes, you kind of know after a few weeks, you're very, very intuitive. So just the fact that everything is there, so you don't need to worry, oh, maybe I should add this ingredient so that my skin would, you just you can worry about something else. So for me, this, just this explanation is what people need to hear, to understand their skin and stop chasing the perfect routine, because it doesn't exist. This week is different than next week. So
that's excellent.
That was my little pitch.
It was terrific. I'm in. God knows I need help with my skin, so I will be calling you back.
No problem.
So much of, for most people, I know this has been for me and many of the folks that we've spoken to on the podcast here, we build on successes, but we also build on the things that become the difficulties and the issues that we have to get past. Can you speak to a couple of things, that really were pivotal in terms of things that were becoming roadblocks to success that you overcame, and sort of the process of overcoming them?
Every day. Yeah, it still happens, right? You think you've overcome a limit, and then there's the next one and the next one. I think this is one of the reasons why I love the journey. Actually, I'm a growth-oriented person. Even in pharma, I was all about, like growing and learning. And, so this is still it. Consequences, you live very clearly. I learned to let go a lot. Because everything that happens for you, like to outgrown something, maybe, like, oh, maybe I'm controlling this too much. I need to let that go. Maybe, like it's signals for me. I read it, and I really try. Sometimes I need to talk to myself to learn and to see the opportunity in the challenge. Certainly in terms of the team, like everybody has their own agenda, their own motivations. And I did make the mistake of motivating people the way I was motivated. Right. So I would attract a certain profile, but they will learn and leave, right? Because I focus so much on the learning and the opportunity to grow that, like once they felt they had grown, they would, move on. And, whereas now I focus really on, what I see later on and what I can attract. And hopefully, like this talks to them. And so that was something that I learned, I guess, the hard way, because you feel sometimes betrayed when these things happen, especially with people. But now I know that everything that happens is for me to grow, and because I need to be even further. I think we limit ourselves by we limit ourselves every day. So by having these challenges, you can outgrow what no longer serves you. That's how I see these challenges. Did that answer your question?
Very much. Very much. Not to, no pun intended here, but we have to be a little bit thick-skinned about our approach to feedback and, input and things that are coming at us. And again, it comes back to that earlier conversation where over time, recognizing what you're willing to accept that doesn't impact on the core, and what you're willing to accept that it augments the core, and to use that. So yeah, I think that's very powerful for sure.
I mean, there's so many elements that you've touched on here with respect to really reinvention, right? Learning about yourself, learning about how to lead others. And on this topic, what I'm curious about is, you entered really a brand new space. Like you said, it's the Act 3, I think you called it, which I loved. It's a completely new area, new space. How did you navigate the fact that you weren't doing this before? Was it your networks, or tell us a little bit about how you navigated a completely new area and building a business in it when, your past and your friends and probably most of your contacts were in a completely different space.
Yes, you're right. I never asked myself that question. I think it's just part of my personality. I think I've done that a few times too. We lived abroad. I'm a very adaptive person. And this is something that, it's one of my greatest strengths, but it's so also, it's difficult for teams to follow. Because, if something, doesn't quite work, I can switch in an instant. Okay, well, then we're going to do this like that. And it's super clear. Okay, well, this doesn't work. Well, we're going this way. It's like, what? Well, yeah, it's going to work because I'm kind of an integrator at the same time. I spin. It's, and I see all these dimensions. And I remember taking all these tests, right? In corpo, you have the test, the color test, the disc, that, and I always ended up with answers that were a bit confusing because I probably had 3 out of the 4 profiles most of the time if I didn't have the 4 profiles, like all mixed in together. I even had the chance once, there was this guy who had another star like test, and I took it twice thinking, oh, it's going to, it always changes depending on how you feel, right? So I took the second time again, and I ended up again with you were supposed to end up with a dot, and I ended up with a triangle, and both times. And he was there, and I said, listen, I got to ask, because this star was to find your perfect ally, right? The second in command in your group, and and he says, oh no, that's another profile. You're an integrator. So you must be going like quite crazy in your mind, right? Yes, absolutely. Because I validate everything, and this is how actually I was able to develop the adaptable duo, because I was set to to find the product that worked, but there was something missing, and I kept on spinning, and and it took me a long time because we're so conditioned to focus it on symptoms, and I was gonna have we're gonna have correctors on top, and we're we tried different things. But this is this spinning that at some point, it kind of all aligned. And then I could see, okay, yeah, I need to separate this from that and make it work like that. Like then I could see it. So I got totally lost in my in my thoughts here. But, this adaptability to the team is something that's actually very challenging as well. But it's also what I think will ultimately bring us success. I'm not sure what was the question, though.
No, I think you answered it. And what I was going to add is, this is wonderful, like you said, internally to the organization and to you as a leader. What about externally? Like, how did you find the support systems and the people around you to help you reinvent really do this in a space that you weren't operating before?
I guess, well, this is project management 101. That's how I approached it anyway. Okay, I set when I took a step back from biopharma, I set to realign my network. I was part of the Society of Cosmetic Chemists, since 2001, right? Because I had the intention back then to, to develop something at the time, which even if I had, left behind for a while. So I reconnected with these networks. I wrote with Miguel. We worked on writing, a literature review, which helped a lot. I presented so I rebuilt the network, from the science standpoint. And from the operations, because we do things that are different, I had to do it myself. But I'm a chemist, so I found a chemist that could actually help me formulate, because I knew the ingredients I wanted to include, and evidently those I wanted to exclude. But I'm not a formulation chemist. I've never done that. So to have something that's actually with a texture that that makes sense. So I set all my criterias. I didn't, I didn't want fillers for nothing. I had a long list of criterias and the ingredients I wanted, but in between, to make formulations that work together, I had the help of a formulation chemist. Mm-hmm. So, and then, you learn as you go. The rest is you ask question. He helped me connect with a manufacturer that could manufacture my product, and and then you start like this, and then the next wave is increasing volumes, and likely Europe. So in Europe, you need a certain certification. So it's meeting people again that can do what and lots of talks, like negotiations, I guess, and finding the right fit. Yeah.
Brilliant. One of the questions that we have brought to each of the discussions is, if you now reflect and start to distill the experience, and this is difficult, however, we're going to ask anyway, what would be those three critical elements in really in your reinvention process? So someone out there who's standing in the doorway right now and thinking it's time to shift, what would those three pieces of advice be to them that you would provide?
Yeah, the first one, that's a good question. The first one, I think if I had to do it again, I think I would find someone to do it with. Which, of course, is not easy. But especially with what I have, I believe in it so much that I feel I've risked it a few times because I was alone, and I may be an integrator. I mean, I'm not great at everything. I can do everything, but I'm not great, right? So just to be able to focus most of your time on your, your superpowers, and so that you're faster, and it's probably more fun too. So one thing like that would be one thing. And like I said, for the other two is, intuition goes with alignment as well. I think be aligned, be clear on why you're doing it, what your values are. And, if the why is aligned with who you are, I mean, the rest is, you're just going to keep going. I mean, for me, there wasn't, a time where I asked, I got to stop, right? Because there's no alternative. These products I want for myself too, and I want for my family, my kids, my teenagers are using them. It's as if these kids have never known, other skincare, really, they think that's how skincare works, right? You adapt, So anyway, so the second thing is alignment with your values. And the final thing, it goes back to the first, I guess, but is enjoy the journey. It's quite a journey, but it is so rewarding, even when you're not making money, right? It is rewarding. It's tough. It's really tough, but you connect with yourself 100%. And you meet people that are just honestly fabulous, because other entrepreneurs, I think I was an entrepreneur all along. I'm this beast, I guess. And there's, there's others like me, which is a fun ride when you have others. Yeah.
Yeah. I that's so poignant, because I think for most people, and this was certainly true for myself, when I decided to move from a corporate role to a more independent entrepreneurial role, which grew over time and became even more entrepreneurial as time went on. But I really did feel like I was doing this on my own. And the truth of the matter was, I never did do any of it on my own. I've always had a partner or chosen to do the things I've done with someone. And yet, in the beginning of it, I always felt like it was me. But now, reflectively, and thank you for that insight, because I think this can be a big open door for people who may be standing there thinking, I'd really like to do this, but it would be amazing if I didn't have to do it alone. And you've just basically told people, you don't have to do it alone. I mean, you did in many respects, you didn't in other respects. But I think that idea, it hopefully will free people's thinking about, go find someone to do it with. The journey's so exciting when there's someone to share it with. So thank you for that, because that was really powerful.
Thank you.
And this is, I'm reflecting also on what you said, actually, about your kids, that they don't know anything different than the approach to skincare that you've shared with him. So I'm just thinking back of how much of a game changer you are in terms of, what you're trying to do. And I really hope you succeed, because it's well, for people like me and, I think females more so than men, we tend to use a lot more skincare, and it's long overdue that there's a disruption in this space that's really, really, a game changer in the way that you want it to be. The other question that we love to ask all of our guests, Mireille, is there anything that we didn't discuss today or that you would love to share with our audience?
Forgot about that question. There's many people I think I need to thank, because to your point, even if I'm, by myself many times, I really, really leaned on many, especially in my entrepreneur friends. At the beginning, the more we advance, we know more, right? We're more confident, but especially these beginnings were great. And now it's something new. So very thankful for those that led me actually to meet you guys too, right? It's all a network. And also very grateful for the women leaders in pharma. There's one thing I wanted to highlight. I received the Entrepreneur of the Year award, November 2025. And this, given what we've discussed, for me is just something out of this world, because I do credit the brand that I can now share with the world from my experiences in pharma. I hadn't been from my life journey and what I learned, that learning to work, because when I was in oncology, I worked with all the portfolio and connecting, the different organs. And when it forces you to think from another standpoint more, in connected pathways, really. And then being moved into immunology, that ultimately led me to discover the wonders of the microbiome, is so connected with my journey in biopharma that for me, it's like a 360. Coming home, I'm so grateful for that. First nomination, because I think all the people nominated, including yourself, right, were absolute fabulous human beings, and to receive the award is very is very humbling.
I was going to say, congratulations. I had the pleasure of being there when you received the award, and it's just really so well deserved, Mireille, because again, you're not, just launching a product, even put it that way, but you're really changing the whole philosophy around skincare and bringing something so new that I'm convinced is really going to change the landscape. And that's an incredible legacy that, anyone could be proud of. So I wish you so much
I'll
success.
take all of that in. Thank you.
I wish you so much success, and I am certain that it will continue to be in a big way. So on that note, I'd like to say a big thank you. Mike, anything else you'd like to add before we close off?
Simply to, again, acknowledge and congratulate you on your award, but and most importantly, because individuals like yourself, when these awards take place, it's yet another opportunity for the world to see someone who is gracious, who has tremendous humility and gratitude for the environment and the collective of, that entrepreneurial club, so to speak, or and which is a giant group. And when I see people like yourself and so many, in particular in the women leaders group, who really are just genuine, wonderful people who are doing great work, who appreciate being with other wonderful people, and really are always so gracious, and their gratitude. It gives me a tremendous sense of future. So congratulations again, and thank you for your contributions, and thank you for being here today. This has been terrific. Yet another awesome opportunity, Marissa, for you and I to expand our network, to get to know yet another amazing person. And I'm sure that will just be multiplied now as a result. So thanks for your time and your tremendous success, and wishing you a great future with it.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been wonderful. And I love the questions. It's actually some of them I've answered for the first time. So it's very enriching for me as well.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, thank you to all of our listeners for being with us today. And we look forward to seeing you again next time on Leadership and Reinvention. Thanks, everyone.